Welcome to AthsTV. I'm Cameron Luke, and while the Coles Summer Series here in Australia has been producing some outstanding results, our para-athletes overseas have been just as impressive. And to talk a little bit about not only what's happened in the last couple of weeks, but also looking forward, World Championships towards the end of the year, and then, of course, Tokyo in 2020 is the recently installed Paralympic Program Manager for Athletics Australia, Jon Turnbull. Jon, as I welcome you in, congratulations.
Thank you. No, excited to be here, excited to be at Athletics, and looking forward to a pretty rapid 2 years through to Tokyo.
Now, I'm just going to look at the timeline. Dubai, and which is wonderful performances, which you'll tell us about, probably coincided with your introduction into the role. So are you taking the full amount of credit for all the great results over there?
No, not at all. To be fair, my first day on the job was sitting on a plane to Dubai. So really, my role there was just to see the lay of the land, see how the competition was run, accommodation, transport, really as a site visit for the games coming up in, or the World Champs, in November. So no credit for the results. It was really nice to see the guys, really good group of coaches and athletes, have some great success. 9 gold, 3 silver, 4 bronze over there at the Grand Prix. When it comes to how you approach that, obviously first day remarkably on the road and going into such a wonderful competition for the Australian para-athletes, how do you approach it? Is it just an introduction? Did you offer any advice? How do you ease yourself into this role, knowing that there's a huge amount on play at the end of this year and, of course, into a Paralympics next year? Yeah, no, good question. Look, at the end of the day, it was stand in the back, stay quiet, ask a question when nothing else is going on. So it was really nice to see the coaches in action. As I said, I literally just stood back and watched them go. We had a really good debrief at the end, so as soon as all the events were over, I was actually able to ask a few more deep questions of the athletes and just get their reflections of that event versus the previous World Champs where they had London, really well run, good accommodation, and so we were checking in around that. But look, at the end of the day, at those games, I'm basically there to run interference and get stuff out of the way for them. You've been in similar roles for a long period of time. It was a great amount of work in New Zealand, then here in New South Wales, and now here at Athletics Australia. When you look at what you want to bring to the role and how you can incorporate what you've already learnt at the highest level, at the elite level, what do you try to or want to introduce into the Paralympic world as we head towards the World Champs, the Olympic Games, and then to continue to build on the wonderful results as we head towards 2024 and beyond? Yeah, look, very similar approach than as I had in Dubai. For me, the para program is really well run, some great coaches, obviously some clearly great athletic talent there. For me, it's really just keeping the wheels moving. A few tweaks as we move through to Dubai into Tokyo. For me, anything in terms of impact and major changes, not that I foresee any majors, really comes in the 2024-2028 space. So as I'm working through to Dubai and Tokyo, starting to build the strategy for Paris and LA in the background. From all reports, you're a very communicative program manager. Does that, with the coaches, is it with the athletes? How do you find in your role and in the past, what do you hope to do here is, do you discuss more with the coaches how they can help their athletes, or is it more the athletes come to you? How do you think the right balance is actually done from your position to pass feedback onto these athletes? Yeah, no, good question. Look, I usually describe my role as the person who supports the people who support the athletes. So really it's, my role is to support the coaches and then the performance support team around them, and to work with the system across Australia to make sure that those guys can do their job. So removing barriers, supporting resource, and building the talent of our coaches and our performance support staff. Too many times when the Olympics are on the horizon, I ask the redundant question of how exciting it is and how excited the person is. So I'll ask you a slight tweak to it. When we look towards the Tokyo Paralympics in 16, 17, 18 months' time, on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis, how much of your time, your conversations is taken up with one eye or sometimes two eyes towards Tokyo? Look, predominantly. At the end of the day, I've looked at my area of getting results at World Champs in Tokyo, building a long-term strategy, and then developing people all the way through. So we're talking with athletes, it's always around Dubai, Tokyo. We're saying those in the same sentence. It's not necessarily around what's coming up next weekend, but really around that major event of Tokyo. At the end of the day, World Champs, as a building block to Tokyo as we move through 4 years, every 4 years is that major event.
Now, after Dubai and after a couple of weeks in the role, do you have a fairly clear picture of who are the athletes, the para-athletes who are going to really shine on the biggest stage? Or do you wait a couple of weeks, of course the Nationals are away, or do we see the World Championships and then them on the elite stage? Do you have, without naming names, but do you have a fair idea as into where and who we're going to be celebrating with in Tokyo in particular in a little while?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, we've always got our eye on our top group, and then we're relative to where the other athletes are in the world. We can only control our athletes and their performances. So we've got a long list for Dubai, a long list for Tokyo. So the APC, the Australian Paralympic Committee, is already asking us for our athlete lists so they can get the uniforms and rooms. So we've very much got an eye on who those people are. We do expect a few to pop up and a few, results come up through nationals every now and then, especially in the para space. You can have someone just pop out of nowhere. That's the exciting thing about it. Sort of 2 years prior to games, everyone's really focused on it. So they do pop up, but at the end of the day, we're probably 95% of who our people are, how their performances are tracking, and therefore what results we expect to get in Tokyo.
This might surprise you, but I'm no weather expert, but I will ask you, that I think start of November in Dubai will be interesting weather-wise to allow the athletes to acclimatise or to get used to it heading in. Is there anything specially that you're going to plan to make sure that it's not a huge shock when they get there?
Yeah, look, we've been talking about heat and humidity, especially ever since Tokyo came on the radar. The guys aren't unaccustomed to heat. They train a lot on the Gold Coast and up north. They've been to Doha before. Interestingly, in Doha, some of the staff and coaches were wearing beanies in the evenings, so it actually got cooler than we really thought. 25, 30 in the day, and then actually cooling down at night. So Sydney at the similar time was a lot more humid and hot and uncomfortable. So yes, we're looking at heat, but we're also wary that it's not going to be that hot and not as hot as we thought it would be that time of year. But definitely Tokyo, we're expecting it to be hot and humid. Really tough to live and sleep in those environments, let alone train, compete and recover. So it's a big focus for sports science and for our planning.
Such a strong program, the Paralympic athletes at Australian Athletics. So an exciting time for you to join, also to continue to tap into your wealth of knowledge, and good luck. Congratulations again on the gig, and looking forward to not only 2019 and 20, but many years to come with you at the helm, mate. Enjoy.
Absolutely. Thank you.